Right now at Kohl's 3-day gift sale, take an extra 20% off with your Savings Pass. Use it on top of great gift sale prices in-store and online, like 60 to 70% off fine jewelry. Plus, everyone gets $10 Kohl's cash for every $50 spent. This Thursday through Saturday at Kohl's 3-day gift sale. Kohl's. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Howdy, race fans. How the hell are you? Steve Big Sweat Billmyer here on this end. Welcome to another edition of Racing with Big Sweat, where you tune in to get your fix of local short track racing from across the great country of ours. Let's see who we've got here with us since I've just got here. How about my partner in crime, my producer, Mr. CJ Sports? You here, CJ?
Yes, I am here.
Good deal, Lucille. I didn't get a chance to read much on it, but I see there's some big news, big plans in the future.
Yes, there is. It was official today. The 110 Nation Sports Show. One is extended and is going to be throughout the week, but also the show will be rebroadcast on the I-95 Sports Network as well. So looking for a great opportunity there to bring more listeners not only to the show, but to the whole radio network and to the site as well. So we're looking forward to that.
Yep, sounds like a big deal. Always great to move on to bigger and better things, I'm here to tell you.
Oh, yes.
How about the other partner, our boy from down in Mississippi, Chris, YellowCautionFlag, Creighton? You there, bud?
I have 4 people in the studio. I don't think any of them look like his number. I can't remember his number off the top of my head.
That's probably the 4 guys we got calling in, folks. We're going to do a little bit different show tonight. What we're going to do is get 4 drivers in who all were down in Pensacola, Florida at Five Flags Speedway for the Snowball Derby this weekend, and it's going to give us a chance to talk to them and swap stories about how they did, what they did, how things went for them, and just to get a good feel and a general idea of what it's like to be down there for the Snowball Derby. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring some of these guys on in. First off, a friend of the show, man, has been on before, based in Texas, racing late models and modifieds. This young man gets around, and he knows how to wheel a race car. Let's say hello to Flying Ryan Luza. Flying Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Good deal. Thanks for being here with us. Also with us is another driver that competed in the Snowflake race on Saturday down there. As a matter of fact, another young man out of Texas, too. Boy, they breed them young down there in Texas, I tell you. A lot of young drivers coming up from down there. But this gentleman is Derek Scott Jr. Derek, how are you doing tonight, bud?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on this show.
Good deal. Thanks for coming in. Glad you could be here with us. Tell your dad I said hello. Another driver we're going to talk to tonight, the Snowball Derby competitor. Man that's been down there, drove hard before. He's won some races this year at other tracks. Southern National Motor Speedway being his home track. Help me welcome Clay Jones. Clay, what's up with you tonight?
Oh, nothing much, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Clay's dad, John Jones, was a hell of a wheel man a few years ago. As a matter of fact, I got to work with John. He drove my late model some, and I've known Clay since he was a young man. And our fourth and final guest is this dude's pretty impressive. He drove both races. And not only did he drive both races, but he finished in the top 10 in both races. And I don't care who you are, that's pretty damn strong. Kaz Grala, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing great, and we're glad to be here. How was that going for you running both cars down there, running both races?
Well, it definitely is a challenge, and it's certainly even more of a challenge for me since I had never been in either of those races before. Really never been to Pensacola, actually, in a late model ever. So that it was a little tricky, especially going between the two cars. When you think about it, you end up splitting your practice time because the Supers and the Pros practice at the same time. So I only got to practice about half as much in each car. And the two cars drive very differently, too. The Pro Late model has a lot less power than the Super. So that totally changes your driving style and your mentality going into every single lap. So it was tough going back and forth between the two cars. But I managed it all right. And came out of the weekend with 2 top 10s, which I was really happy with.
As well, you should be. Is there anything that you could use that you learned Saturday in the Snowflake race that would carry over to Sunday's Snowball Derby, or are the cars just too different?
Well, the cars are very different, but since I hadn't raced at that track before, it was really valuable to me, especially in the Snowflake, since I started 31st and ended up 7th.
Wow.
It was really good to be able to get that experience passing, and that really came in handy on Sunday because the cars might be different, but the track is still the same. So the way that you're going to get under people and your passing zones and all that are going to be exactly the same in both cars. So it was good just to get some more experience under my belt. Between those 2 days, I ended up with 450 laps.
There you go.
Racing laps. Now, the practice laps, I don't even know how many I did throughout the whole week, but probably almost as much.
That's some serious seat time there. Flying Ryan, how did you do in the Snowflake? Where did you start and where did you finish?
Well, we qualified 8th, ended up 13th, but we got up into the top 5, and we weren't really sure what was going on, but I just lost all my drive off about halfway through the race, and, I ended up getting lapped with 1 to go, which kind of sucked. But I had no drive. We pulled in, and they found the Gleason was broke, so basically I only had the right rear tire to accelerate with, so it was just crazy loose. But, the car was really good. I think we'd had a top 5 run going and maybe even challenge for a top 3 spot. But, it is what it is. We'll be back next year to challenge for it again.
Was that your first trip down there?
No, we went, 2013 was our first year, qualified 16th, got caught up in a wreck on lap 4. And then we went last year, barely made it in, qualified 29th. Ran up to 16th, but then we had a right front shot go bad that week. So I guess we really have been snake bit for our Snowflake races so far. So hopefully, I guess next year, it's just so hard to wait another year, to go back and try to run good. So just a bummer so far.
Yeah, it makes for a long winter. Sounds like you're having quite a bit of mechanical trouble, but there are bugs that can get worked out. You just got to get through them and get above them. How about you, Derek? Do you have any trouble like that, or was your weekend pretty smooth down there?
Well, we did have the start of practice. We had old tires from Nashville, and they were just bad. We put on 3 sticker sets from Nashville, and we just lost a tenth when we went out there, and they were just hard. And just getting practice laps in with new tires, it's a big deal for qualifying, and I wasn't really prepared for it. But anyways, I qualified 16th, far back in the pack. Wasn't really happy with that. When we started the race, car was good. I was doing as much as I could to save as much as I could. And, I thought I had a right front tire going into turn 3. actually got on the radio and said I was coming into the pits. Well, as I went around, another lap, I feel like the power steering was going out, and that's what ended up happening. The power steering went out, and when I was coming off of turn 2, I tried to turn down into the pits, and I just got left reared right going into the pit. So that's pretty much how my weekend went.
Well, learned some things anyway. Got some experience. You planning on going back next year?
Yes, definitely. Most likely it's going to be a super. We might do both, but I plan on going back and, showing better results.
Well, you can sit here and talk to Kaz about doing double duty. I mean, it's a lot of work, but the end result's paying off. My buddy Clay Jones here ran in the Derby. How'd you do down there, Clay? What was your weekend like?
It wasn't too bad, man. It was pretty good. I was just, first off, thankful for the opportunity to go down there, the competition.
Oh, yeah.
Just the whole group of people, man, that's involved in that whole deal. It's a privilege just to go be able to run in that thing. But, yeah, man, we had a pretty good weekend. We just didn't make it in on time, qualified 29th and then moved up with the DQs. But we started the race Sunday, and just the plan was to just ride and log laps, man, and just finish the race. That's all we wanted to do. We had made the show. That was the first goal, and the second goal was just to finish the race. And, man, we had a fast car and got caught a lap down right at the beginning, just could never get that lap back. But we had a fast car for the race, that's for sure.
Being a lap car, do they line them up old style on restarts with the lap traffic on the inside, or are they using the up style now?
No, sir. They had all the lead lap cars, double file, and then the lap cars behind those. Yeah, and it seemed like every time, man, we would get caught in a bad line on the restart, and one car would jump out and get gone, and it was so hard to make up ground. But like I said, we had a good weekend. Didn't tear nothing up, and hey, we were tickled to death just to finish.
There you go. This question's for all of y'all, so just jump in when you can. How many sets of tires did y'all use down there?
I think we used 3 sets for the Derby. We went down with a set we raced on the Hickory and started on those, and we used 3 new sets for the Snowball.
For practice and the race?
Yeah, well, we practiced with 3 sets, and then the race was 3 sets also. The set you started on, and then 3 sets during the race.
Damn. I had heard the tire bill kind of severe down there sometimes. What causes teams to use so many tires? Is it trying to get the setup right, to get comfortable on the track, or is it the track surface? Is it very abrasive? Is that what wears the tires out?
I think there's a couple of reasons for it. Probably the biggest being because both of those races are so difficult to make it into. They only take less than half the cars that are there, and it's a stacked bunch of cars. I think everybody just kind of focuses on qualifying trim just to make sure that they can get into the race. And focusing on qualifying trim is just extremely expensive because you have to put on tires every run you make in practice to make a mock qualifying run. So that's probably why they sell as many tires as they do. As well as the Snowball Derby, you get, I think it's 3 sets, 4 sets total for the race, but you make 3 pit stops. So that's 3 more sets right there. So their tire sales were not a trouble for them that weekend.
It's kind of like Thanksgiving weekend for a retailer. They make all their money on that show. How much is a set of tires down there?
I'm not exactly sure.
It's about $6.50.
Yeah.
You obviously weren't writing the checks for the tires, huh?
No, I wasn't. I was probably busy jumping back and forth between the 2 cars.
It's got to be pretty expensive down there. But that's pretty much your biggest and only expense, really, isn't it, other than racing fuel and pit passes? Oh, I guess it's, well, then again, you start figuring in motels and everything else, and the price does.
Oh, yeah. And then you got pit crews. People hire pit crews just for a weekend. It adds up pretty quick.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But it's a prestigious show, you know. It's a show you want to make. It's a show you want to do good in, because it can certainly catapult your career forward. Eric Jones is a prime example of that. How rough is the race down there itself? Do y'all race body to body, side by side and closer, or do you kind of show some respect for the other driver and try to save your car till the end?
I found that both races were really, really hard racing, but I didn't find either of them to be real dirty. I'm sure everybody had a slightly different experience, but if it wasn't for a lap 4 incident in the Snowflake that someone got into the back of me, and so we just ended up with some really minor body damage. If it wasn't for that, we would have left both events actually without a scratch on the car. So I was pretty pleased with how clean everybody was, but by no stretch of the imagination is it an easy race. Nobody cuts anybody any slack. It's really, really hard racing. But I was really glad that nobody seemed to be tearing stuff up just because. I think both events are so big and so many people pay attention to them that nobody really wants to be that guy that causes a big wreck. It happens, but
yeah,
it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm. What's your mindset starting 31st and trying to get to the front, Kaz?
Well, in the 100-lapper, it was kind of get what you can get. Had that been the Snowball, I'd say patience would be the number one word. But the problem with only 100 laps is you run out of time quick. It sounds like a long time, but if you get some long green flag runs and the field gets spread out, it's really hard to make any headway. I got a little bit lucky because there were a lot of cautions early in that race up until, I think, lap 45 or something like that. There were a lot of cautions. I was actually up to 5th by lap 45 from 31st.
Wow.
With about 25 laps to go in the race, we had a slight problem, just a little bit of bad luck. The stagger in the rear completely closed up on us, so the car got really tight, and we did not expect that. So that's when I fell from 5th to 7th, but still I was happy with even 7th. 5th was really, really good for a while.
Yeah, definitely so. I heard that. Eric, you've been down there before. You've even won a race down there at Five Flags, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So you've had experience down there before, just not so much with the crowd of cars and people that are there. What's it like trying to get in and out of your garage stall and in and out of the pits onto the track? Is it as bad as I've heard?
Well, I mean, it's bad. It just depends on where you're at. Some areas there's more traffic than others. Just as long as you have your pit crew and the guys telling you if there's people behind you or not, then you're good. You just have to be real cautious and slow. I mean, you got to be as quick as you can to get in line, but you have to be as slow as you can to be cautious and not to wreck. So, I mean, it is crowded, especially where I was at. I was towards the end, and everyone was bunched up. But, I mean, it's not too bad, just as long as you're looking where you're at and you have a good crew telling you where people are at according to where you are.
Yeah, that definitely helps. I heard the temperature was kind of low. It was kind of chilly down there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the races you had run there were during the summer in the heat. Was there any difference that you could tell in the track or anything like that with the weather being cooler now?
Most definitely. I mean, it took longer for the tires to warm up on stickers, and you saw many people wrecked up there just on sticker runs, and it's so cold up there. But yeah, it's a big difference. the tires actually, I shouldn't say last longer, but they have a longer lifespan, and it's colder and it's not as greasy out there. And that's pretty much the only big difference there is. I mean, it's just getting those tires warmed up and how long it takes for that process to happen.
Yeah, you get to where you don't want to jump the gun and try to run a full-on lap on your cold tires because they're still going to be kind of glazed. That generally doesn't work. Did you find that to be true also, Ryan? Were you having to warm your tires up a bunch before you could get going in practice?
Yeah, we actually went out there. Like, it's really hard to get a mock run in during practice because there's already 12 to 15 cars out there, and, most of us are taped up. You can't really just, go out there and start scrubbing tires because you're going to overheat. So basically, my crew chief's just telling me, go, get up to speed, and your tires are cold. And I went into turn 3, went to turn left, and it just went straight, with the cold tires. It was pretty close right there. And then I didn't have drive off for the next 2 laps. I was pretty sideways. So I can definitely see where a lot of people were having the trouble on the cold tires, especially in supers, because it's probably 10 times worse. So, yeah, the next time we played it a little more careful, we didn't tape up and went out there and scrubbed a bit. So, yeah, that was definitely a big deal.
Definitely so. It sounds like it, but grip didn't seem to be a problem once the tire got up to temperature?
No, once it was up to temperature, it's, the most grip you're ever going to have because the track's so cool, and once the tires get heat in them, you have a ton of grip, especially, with the new tires and new rubber.
What brand tires do they run down there?
Hoosier F45s.
There you go. Run a bunch of laps on the F45. That's a mainstay for Hoosier. What about it, Clay? Did you have that much trouble getting heat in your tires?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, man. I think the biggest, another big thing was speed. Just like Friday night in qualifying, man, everybody, I know cutoff last year was like a 43 in supers, and this year it was like a 32. And you saw that with Chris Bell breaking the track record and everything, and then Majeski ended up getting it. He broke the track record too. I mean, everybody, when it cools off like that and, track's cool and cool air, man, it just makes those things fly, just a little more horsepower.
Yeah, you can fatten the fuel mixture up, get a little bit more air pressure in your tires, even jack the track bar up a notch or two, and get with it when track gets cool like that, when the weather gets cool and everything. That's a good time to run. What was the weather like race day? Was it a big difference?
Oh yeah, it was a big difference, man. It was right hot on Sunday, and that I think that was a played in our favor, man. We really didn't have a lot of speed all weekend, and we had just enough to get in on Friday night. And Sunday, man, the car took off. We were a whole lot faster than we had been all weekend. But I think, the warmer temperatures on Sunday played a big part, like you were talking about handling and everything, and burning the tires off and all that stuff.
I tell you, it's something else the way, you got to play the weather against your setup and what you think's going to happen and everything. That's pretty interesting. It was quite a bit of difference in the weather down there for the weekend.
Yeah, and I noticed a lot of cars in the Snowflake Saturday night were almost taped off. It was so cold and not running but a 100-lap race. I mean, you could about take the whole nose off and still be cool,
Yeah, and that's a definite advantage. That'll help plant that front end. Derek, did y'all run a bunch of tape on your nose?
Yes, actually, I think we used a little too much tape. Pretty much the whole front end was taped up, and it does help a little bit. But I did overheat a couple of times, and I feel like having more tape on there, I just feel better. It's like when you put new tires on, you feel like you're supposed to run faster. Whenever I tape up, I feel like I'm gonna go run fast. So I don't know, it's just a mind game. But yeah, I think we put a little too much tape on, and next time we might not do that.
Is it real noticeable? Like one strip of tape that you might, like you said, you might have put too much on. Would that one strip of tape, would that have really made a noticeable difference in the way that car went into the corner and the way it planted the front end?
I don't know too much about planting the front end and the way it handles through the corner, but I would definitely say with, overheating the engine, like, half its strip of tape, the engine will cool off like that with that cool weather out there. So, yeah, I wouldn't say too much with the handling part, though.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, is the reward of getting more downforce with more tape worth the risk of overheating and damaging the motor? That's pretty much what I was wondering. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the reward is more, saving your engine, and I don't think it's going to put that much more downforce, but, it helps. It blocks off the airflow going into the radiator and everywhere, but I definitely say it's better to, keep the engine warm and all, but, save it as much as you can as well.
Yeah, I think on a big track, the bigger the track like that, Firefly is pretty big. I think the more tape you get on there like that, it's going to help, push the front end down and help turn better. But on your smaller tracks, I don't think it really helps that much. Kind of just depends on where you're at,
Yeah, that's true, too. That's definitely true. What about you, Ryan? Y'all tape your nose off for the Snowflake race?
I think we just ran our standard one strip across the nose. I don't really think it helps that much, but one strip versus no strip, I'll take it. And, we usually run a strip in the race and don't really have a problem. So we just stuck with that, play conservative, because you might get stuck behind somebody for 30 or 40 laps to start overheating, if you have too much tape on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. It's pretty interesting, though. Everybody's got different thoughts and styles and everything, from the ultra-conservative one strip across the top to pretty much the whole grill. Kaz, you had different temperatures in the Snowflake and in the Snowball Derby, so I'm sure you ran different amounts of tape, but did you find that the tape helped that much, or was it worth the risk?
I think we did a pretty good job with the tape. Both of the motors stayed right about the temperatures that we wanted them, but we didn't really push it too much with the tape. At a place like Pensacola, to me, the risk outweighs the reward. It is a fairly big fast track for a late model, but still not really enough to make the individual strips of grill tape make a huge difference. Like when I go to a place like Iowa or New Hampshire or definitely Dover, when you're going that fast, that's going to make a huge difference to have just one more strip of tape. That's going to completely change the race car. But Pensacola, I would take as much as you can get, but probably be a little bit careful with that, because you're not going to get a whole lot out of each strip.
Yeah, I understand that. There's a bit of controversy down there. On the Derby side with William Bell. First, he was fastest qualifier and kicked him out for that. And then they took the victory away from him in the race. And the understanding I got, or what I read, was the violation incurred in post-race inspection was he exceeded the left side weight, the allowable left side percentage of weight. Basically, he was too light on the right side. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. Too light on the right side or too heavy on the left side. Okay.
I wasn't familiar with the fact that there was a too heavy rule on the left side. When I was late model racing, all you worried about was making right side weight. So I was a little bit off on that. I wasn't quite understanding it. Thank you for pointing that out.
I think the way that they do it there is the left side percentage, and that can be affected by either too heavy on the left side or too light on the right side. From what I understand, their total weight was okay. It was the percentage of weight that was the left side, and the team said that it was because when he was doing burnouts and celebrating after the win, they said he picked up more rubber on his left side tires than he did on his right side tires. That was their claim.
You're doing a burnout in a straight line, but your left side tire is picking up more rubber than the right side tire.
Yeah, after the race.
Yeah.
After the race,
I know there's marbles out there and everything, but you're usually not up in them doing burnouts either.
Well, and they were off by 8.5 pounds. And I think you would probably be hard-pressed to pick up 8.5 pounds of rubber. But you know what? It could happen.
Yeah, I think the way he did it, he pulled up, grabbed the flag, and went down and turned around backwards and had his left side right up against the wall, holding the flag out, and went all the way around the track. And, I don't know about 8 pounds. It would be close, but I know I looked at after, because we were parked right beside him. And after, I heard the news or whatever, I walked over and looked at our car, and all 4 tires of mine had huge amounts of buildup on them. And I know we didn't even get out of the groove. We came right on in and went to the pit stop. And I know he went up there in all the loose rubber and stuff. So, I don't know, man. That's kind of one of them deals. I think if they'd have took the 2 tires that they had took off on the last pit stop, or the 4 tires or whatever, and put on that car, it would have made, it would have been close, but I think it would have made.
I don't, if it was me and it was less than 10 pounds, and they let you add gas, oil, and water after the race,
and
I
you
would
think
pour
about
so
it when
much
he got
oil
out.
in that motor, it'd be bubbling out of the carburetor.
Think about it, when he got out of the car, they doused him down with water and, everything, so he was drenched. There's a lot of little things that add up there,
Yeah, that's the thing. And I've heard the inspection process down there is very tough.
It is.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, Ricky Brooks, he runs a tight ship over there, but honestly, I agree with it. I don't see any issue with it. I guess it does kind of depend what side of the issue you're on. But I do like the way that he treats everybody equal. I think a lot of tracks would not throw out KBM, and a lot of tracks would not throw out Chase Elliott. A lot of tracks wouldn't throw out John Hunter Nemechek, but they treat everybody completely equal. It doesn't matter who does it, what name you have, what team you're on. If you're not right by the rules, whatever they happen to check, they throw you out. And I think that does kind of keep everybody in line, because everybody knows that if you're out of line by the slightest bit, if you're out of line at all, then you're out. So I think that helps keep the competition nice and fair down there.
Definitely so. That's all any racer really wants, is just a level playing field. Get me equal with the other guys out here, and let's see, who can do what. And that's probably one reason it draws the amount of competition that it does down there, is the fact they know that not only if they're wrong, they're going to get called out, but if anybody else is wrong, they're going to get called out. So that's a good thing, and it's a good reputation to have for that race.
Absolutely.
Ryan, do you run into inspection issues that much, running your weekly shows and your late model and everything? Are they that strict at your local track?
Well, I mean, really, our local track this year has been Pensacola. So, I mean, we won 3 races this year, and, you know, we always get checked. Left side weight is one of the most, you know, everybody checks that every time you go across the scales to make sure you're not above 58.0. And a lot of times we're, you know, 57.9 even, you know, but you got to make sure you're not above that. And every time we come off, you know, the race for post-race tech, it's checked, you know, and I fully expect if anybody is over 58.0, they should be DQ'd. You know, that's the rule. Everybody has to, you know, play by it. And if you come in over that weight, you know, you should be disqualified. That's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah, that's, you know, the rules are the rules. You agree, Ryan?
No, I agree completely. You know, if we were over 58.0 when we crossed the scales at the end of the race, I would expect us to get disqualified, you know, but we weren't. And everybody's going to have rubber build up. I mean, you go up there and do the backwards victory lap. If he's truly right there by the wall, there's as much rubber, you know, a car length down where the right side tires are as the left sides, you know. So I think they're both going to pick up the same amount of rubber, and they just had too much left side weight, you know. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Left side weight is one of the most common things that's tech throughout the entire country. I mean, I think just about every tech at every local track checks left side weight before qualifying and before the race and after the race a lot of times as well. So I don't think everybody who wins and does burnout gets thrown out for it.
Yeah. The weight factor is critical. I don't think, in my opinion, it wasn't anything intentional.
No.
Or some, you know, planned out or anything, because I think they said he was 58.3%.
That's just something that all the teams push. You know, I'll get in the car and, you know, we're usually 57.9. And I'm grabbing over to the right side of the steering wheel, crossing my legs to the right, just to, you know, keep as much weight to the right as I can. You know, and if you mess up before the race and you don't have it, you know, you don't have it set right, you know, you're going to be over. That's something that it's an advantage to have. You want as much as you can without being over the limit. And you push the limit and, you know, sometimes you get caught.
Yeah, it happens. They get, you know, get caught different ways. I remember Chase Elliott, I guess it was 2013, got thrown out. His weight issue he wasn't overweight or underweight. He was using tungsten instead of lead to weigh the car down, and evidently they don't let you run tungsten in the late models right now, which I can understand. That stuff's pretty damn expensive. But it sounds like, you know, it's kind of like they're going to find somebody doing something, trying to get an edge, pushing the envelope, so to speak, down there. And I think that's the same as any big late model race. The Wheeling All-American Late Model Series race at Martinsville in October. Same deal. You know, people come down there just, you know, you got to try to push the limits. If you're a crew chief, that's what you get paid to do. And occasionally it goes over and things don't go the way you planned, and you just deal with it and go on. But it's kind of evident Kyle Busch Motorsports as a whole has it dialed in down there for the Snowball Derby. Kaz, you driving for Kyle Busch, aren't you?
I am. I drove the Snowflake for them, and I've raced about, I think, 10 or 11 races for him this year.
How much backup, how much advice did you get from other people at KBM that had been down there and either driven or crewed on a car down there and had a good idea of what to expect? Was anybody kind of mentoring you through that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The crew chief over there has been down there a ton of times with all sorts of different drivers. I mean, he's been down there with Kyle himself. He's been down there with Eric. He's been down there with Christopher before as well. So he's crew chief's a lot of laps, a lot of pit stops, a lot of snowflakes, a lot of snowballs. He knows the whole scene down there. So I talked to him quite a bit and got as much advice as I could, even for the snowball. I ran the snowball for Chet Morrison racing, not for KBM, but we were still helping each other out and working together. There were no rivalries or anything like that between us. We were still a team.
Were the two cars parked close to each other in the garage, or did you have to do that mad dash from one to the other?
Nope. All three haulers were parked side by side. Christopher's,
there you go.
My pro late model and my super late model, so that made it really easy for both teams to be right there all weekend.
Yeah, that definitely helped. Clay, you've been down there. Do you have any drivers or crewmen that you're close with that you can bounce ideas off of and get some honest feedback that'll help you down there?
We I know a couple guys that's run down there. Jeremy Payton, Fultz has got a lot of experience down there and stuff. But really, our whole crowd's still learning, man. We've only been back in this super stuff for about a year now, and it's just taking it all in every week, man. Learning what all you can and putting it forward and trying to get better for the next week.
You raced the big race at Southern National Motorsports Park Thanksgiving weekend. I think I saw a picture of you holding the hardware.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on that victory. Tell us something about it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. We ran the limited race down there, and kind of my home track. We like 20 minutes down the road from here, but yeah, it was a good weekend, man. I think we started third and took the lead on like lap 7, man, and just kind of got out front and rode and had a good car all weekend, man. We were fast in all the practices and everything, and that helped a lot, with the winning the race the week before the Derby. It kind of gives you a little confidence going down, kind of gave everybody on the team, because all of my guys that help us on our own car, they all go with us with the super deal. So we all had our heads high going down to Five Flags, and like I said, we had a really good weekend.
Yeah, coming off a victory the week before and then making the show with a pretty good qualifying lap. I bet y'all were strutting the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was good. Last year we missed it and had to run a last chance race and got wrecked. So that our main goal this year was just to make the field, and we got in on time and we could rest easy Saturday, take it easy and get ready for Sunday. But it was awesome weekend, man. Anytime you can go down there and be a part of that whole deal, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. I'm definitely trying to make arrangements to go down there. I'm trying to get 110 Nation Sports to pay for it, hence CJ Sports. But we'll get there sometime. Not a problem. Flying Ryan, how long had it been since you had raced a late model before you went down to Pensacola?
I think it was maybe only 2 months or so, and that was at Pensacola for the final 100-lap tune-up race. But we did go back for the test weekend they had, as well as we rented the track later that week, actually, because we were having motor troubles. We ended up taking in and out 3 motors a week before that, like the Snowball week, which was really crazy.
Oh, yeah, definitely so. 2 months is a pretty good little layover. Do you think that hurt you any to not be driving that much, or can you stay sharp, iRacing and renting the track and practicing?
Yeah, you can definitely stay sharp. iRacing is definitely a fun tool to have, just to keep your racecraft up and have a lot of fun at the same time. And just, having so much experience at the track definitely helps. We've been racing there for basically two full years now, and the car's pretty much dialed in, and our setup's good, very comfortable. And if we didn't have trouble this week, I fully expected us to, run and challenge for the win. But, I don't think there was any trouble, not racing for 2 months.
Yeah, from what you just said, it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's really kind of a well-deserved, well-needed vacation, a rest period that you get a chance to recharge your batteries before you go down there for the Derby.
Yeah, also recharge the budget.
Yeah, that too. Somebody's got to buy them tires.
Yeah.
What about you, Derek? How much of a layover did you have prior to the Derby?
I had about 3 weeks since we went to the Derby, and that last race was at Hickory for the last final pass race.
Yeah. Well, that's a strong series too. Is that series you're going to concentrate on next year?
We might run a couple here and there, but most likely not. We'll just try to hit all the big super races and of course, some of the big pro races.
Well, that's a good way to go, too. Keeps you from being a one-track jack. It teaches you to show up somewhere you're not unfamiliar with, practice, qualify, race against drivers you're not that familiar with, beat them in their backyard, and go home with the check.
Exactly.
To me, that's my way of racing. That's the way I like to do it. You're still in Texas, but your car and everything is based in North Carolina. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you're in public school, too?
Right, public school, 11th grade.
Well, that'll get you a pat on the back right there. That's a good sign. That's a good thing for you. I'm glad to hear that. Any plans, like when you're done with school, moving to North Carolina? Or are you going to keep up? Or how do you like the situation that you've got now?
Honestly, the situation isn't too bad because either way, whether I'm in North Carolina or if I'm in Texas, we're still driving to racetracks. So we'll see what happens, future plans, just depending on how my next couple of years go. And you never know, I might drive up to North Carolina and, live up there for a couple of years, seeing how my race career goes from there.
Well, come on up. When you get here, stop by and visit. I'm about 2 hours from Charlotte. It's not that big a drive. Kaz.
Will do.
Kaz, you're where? I can't get my jaws to work. Where is your home base? And your cars are kind of scattered here and there too, aren't they?
They sure are. Everything about me is a little bit scattered. We got me up here in Boston, Massachusetts, and then we've got the Kyle Busch Motorsports late models down in Morrisville, North Carolina, and then the Ben Kennedy Racing K&N cars down in Daytona, Florida. So we've got everything spread out across the East Coast here.
Your airline miles are building up, I take it.
They are.
How do you how does that work? That's 3 different places that are pretty spaced out far apart. I mean, how do you keep up with one from the other, or do you just wait until they send you an itinerary and pack a bag and go?
Well, I'm pretty busy with school when I'm home. I go to school at a private school. I'm a junior in high school.
Oh, wow.
So I usually go about Monday through Thursday most of the time because Friday we usually practice, or sometimes we need Friday as a travel day to get wherever we're going. honestly, a lot of times this year it's happened where we have to leave Tuesday night, and then I end up missing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And for the Snowball Derby, I missed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday to get back home.
Wow.
So I miss a lot of school, but I stay caught up on my work. I try to get ahead before I leave and catch up when I get back, and I keep good grades, so the school doesn't really have a problem with me missing school.
There you go. That's the best way to be. Just keep your grades up and don't give them any problems. They won't give you any problems. All that traveling, though, that kind of plays heck on your social life, doesn't it?
Yeah, I am kind of always somewhere different. Seems like whenever I'm home here, in school all day, by the time I get home, I'm doing a ton of homework trying to catch up on stuff that I missed, and then going to sleep doing it all the next day. And then eventually, by the time I get caught up, we're heading to the next place, the next race, the next location, wherever we're going that weekend. So it gets really, really hectic.
You ever just want to stay in bed, pull the covers over your head, and say, screw it, I ain't going out. I ain't going to be adult today.
No, most of the time I end up trying to get into some race car somewhere because that's what I always want to be doing.
I hear you. And I know my man CJ Sports can relate to that. What do you think so far about what you've heard from these guys, CJ? Pretty interesting, eh?
It is very interesting to me, and to know how big of an event this is, and this being one of those events that kind of can help make your career, and they sit there and just kind of almost brush it off the shoulder like it was another weekend outing for them. So it's really, crazy for me to sit here and listen to this. I do have a couple questions, and one of them is, and this is for all you guys, and I'm really curious because from hearing from you guys, all you guys have different backgrounds, some in school, some not, some with a little bit more financial help than others. But when it was all said and done, almost all you guys had to travel, listening to the tire bill, the fuel bill, the team travel, everything that is involved with this weekend event, that, rightfully so, we've seen Kyle Larson and everybody else move on from, having success at this track. And I'm curious how much you guys had to sacrifice. Obviously, some sacrifice more than other, but from each of y'all, I'm kind of curious, what is, one thing that you really had to sacrifice that was different than any other weekend that you guys would go to a track? If it be, school time, if it would be finances, the family time, whatever the case, had to pick up an extra shift to help cover some of the expenses, whatever the case may be. And then also, how big of a deal was it for you, and what did it mean to each of y'all personally to at least make the race? As one of y'all mentioned that only half the cars that showed up, was able to make the race. That means there was a lot of people turned around and a lot of broken hearts and a lot of dreams crushed. And you guys at least got the opportunity to kind of, put yourself out there in front of everybody and have the opportunity. But regardless how you guys finished, you guys still did better than half the people that showed up. So I'm kind of curious what it meant for y'all to actually just make the race.
Making the race in general, I think for anybody is quite a big accomplishment. So I was really happy as soon as I made both races. I mean, I was looking forward to see how the races would go, and I was hoping to do as good as possible. But once I had made both races, that was kind of one check on the checklist for the weekend of goals. There were a couple goals that I had. First, I wanted to try to make the races. If I could make both of them, then finishing both races was going to be a huge accomplishment if I was able to do it. And in the Snowball Derby specifically, one of the biggest goals that I had was to try to finish on the lead lap, because a 300-lap race, first pit stop I've ever made in my entire life, there were a lot of firsts in that race. So to be able to say that I finished in the top 10 and on the lead lap in my first Snowball Derby, that was kind of like a triple check mark right there. That was a check plus. I was really happy with that. That was about as good as I could have possibly expected to have done. and the Snowflake really well too. I mean, I ended up 7th in that, but started 31st, so that was even crazier for me. But also the fact that we had 2 race cars in one piece. The only damage was the quarter panel knocked in a little bit in the Snowflake car, but other than that, really clean weekend. And I was just super pumped to have been able to be a part of both of those events. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think it was an awesome weekend. I mean, it's like you said, the priorities and stuff you have to put forward to go to this event, man. I know we worked on our car for like 2 or 3 weeks straight, just critiquing everything, every little thing you could do, every little bit you could get, to make sure you had the best pieces you could take down there. And just, because of the prestige of the whole event, you wanted to take the best you could take. And it takes a lot, man, a lot of man hours and a lot of time and a lot of work to put forth to get ready to go to that race. And it just shows the dedication, man, to a lot of these guys and teams and what they do, leaving their families for a week and a half, put forward to go to this race. And but I think it's very rewarding. Like you said, people, you do good in this race and you open a lot of eyes, man. There's a lot of people watching and people watching all around the world. I think they said they had people watching pay-per-view like in a couple different countries and stuff, So, hey, you never know, man. All it takes is one shot.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. The biggest thing is basically the whole publicity of the event. Speed 51's coverage is huge, especially for a smaller team like us. We're just looking to get exposure. For sponsors, we really need sponsors is the biggest thing. To propel us to that next step. And we're kind of stuck at pro late models right now. We really need to be moving up to supers as Derek is next year, or even run some ARCA or K&N races. So really, it's just about the exposure, and making the race is a big deal in itself. We qualified top 10, which was really good, and ran up front, which got us more coverage is what we needed. And it was a really successful weekend, I'd say. We ended up fastest in practice sessions Thursday and Friday, which got us some extra coverage. And even though we didn't run as well as we wanted to in the race, we got, a lot more coverage. So it was a successful weekend, even though the outcome in the race wasn't exactly what we wanted.
And I'm glad that both of y'all had mentioned the publicity and the attention. That's kind of where I was going to go following that. Was what is it like? Is it hard to stay focused there with all the attention? I mean, I'm visualizing kind of like, and I don't want to say you guys are high school level, but when you got your guy, the Snowball Derby, then you got the Camping World Truck ARCA Series, KM Pro Series, Xfinity Series, Sprint Cup. It's kind of a high school level when you compare that to NFL, and that's kind of where I'm going at with it. I'm kind of visualizing like you guys being the best of the best that's been picked out to be on a high school football team, to show up to play at the local, say, the Dallas Stadium, and yet you're going to have some college players, you're going to have some recruits, you're going to have some NFL pro players there kind of eyeing out to see who they want on your team, who they want on their team and everything else. Is that kind of the scene? Is it kind of that kind of attention? Is it overwhelming at times? What is it like for you guys to try to stay focused on the qualifying, the practice, learning to do the pit stops for the first time and everything else?
Yeah, I think as long as you do the best you could do, man, and that's all you can do. And I mean, talking about opening eyes, this day and time, man, racing has changed so much over the years. I know all you guys can relate, man. It's not so much talent anymore. I mean, it is to a point, but then to a point it's not. And this race kind of opens it up to somebody could go in there that's not had a lot of exposure or whatever and do good in this one race and have a shot where. I mean, most of the time these days, man, if you don't have a lot of money to carry with you or have a big sponsor backing you, it's hard to go anywhere. And I think it's really great that they put on an event like this to, give other people a shot And like I said, it only takes that one shot, man. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. That's, you know, this race probably generates as much interest here in the Southeast as the Chili Bowl Nationals do in that area of the country. It's just, it's, you know, I've heard it said before, it's the Super Bowl of short track racing. It's the big deal. It's where you go to get noticed, and where just having a good run and showing that you're a talented and competent driver can get you a long ways on that circuit. Is it, you know, does it rank up there with Chili Bowl Nationals and Knoxville Nationals and some of the other big races across the country?
I mean, I definitely think it does. I don't know if it ranks exactly with those, but for us, it is the biggest race of the year. You know, pretty much, period. That's the biggest super late model race of the year and the pro late model race of the year. And that's what we prepare for all year. Everybody, you're racing, especially us, we're racing at Pensacola all year just to prepare for this one, you know, big deal at the end of the year. So, I mean, it's the biggest deal that we have, and, you know, you got to come and bring your A game.
And that kind of brings up another question. Do you think you have more of a, or how much more of an advantage is it to run that track during the season and then to come in for the Snowball like it was this year where the weather's totally different and everything? Does your previous experience carry a lot of weight with you there?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge advantage, you know, I think, especially if I was to compare it to our first year in 2013. You know, we're scrambling, trying to get the setup changed, you know, get the car to handle right. When, you know, since we've been preparing all year, the car's already set up good. You know, we know where the speed's at, so we're not really rushing to change stuff all week. We're just trying to keep up with the track, you know, keep the car up with the track conditions. And, you know, we knew when the qualifying came where we should be, and where the race came, we have a good race up. So we were prepared, you know, and that's what we're there to do all year, just prepare for this race.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere where they had like 7 hours of practice down there the whole week leading up to the Derby and everything, and I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but my feelings are if you can't get dialed in 7 hours of practice, I mean, you got something bent. You got something that's not mounted right, but anything you can change, you should have already changed and tried that. Is 7 hours of practice necessary, or do you just kind of space your runs out?
I mean, you have to consider there's probably 150 cars trying to get out on the track in a 7-hour span of time. So really, when you think about it, it's not that much time per car, you know, and you're not going to have a clean track like you would, you know, like the whole week previous to the Snowball and Snowflake, the track was completely limited out. You know, they allowed 10 cars testing, and there was 10 cars every day for over a week. So that tells you really how much, you know, practice people want and need. It's just so hard when you have that many cars out to get your race runs done, you know, see how your car's handling, and get, you know, full qualifying runs as well, just to even make the show.
And in practice, they only let 15 cars on the track at the same time. And like you said, there's 150 of them trying to get out there. So you end up with a lot of long lines of cars waiting to get out on track. And then you throw in trying to juggle a second car, and suddenly 7 hours of practice feels like 20 minutes. And now I'm hoping for another 7.
I was thinking back when we used to go to Martinsville for the late model stock races there, and I've been there when there's been 110 to 120 cars trying to make that race. And it's a pain in the butt trying to get on and off the track because same deal, they would only let 15 cars or so out on the track at a time, so you're lined up, and when one comes off, they send another one out. But it takes a while to get out on the track, and then getting a clean lap is pretty much just ain't going to happen. You get a lot of practice racing in traffic, not much practice running out front because there's always somebody in front of you. But it's interesting to me that they can even pull off a show like that with that many cars, and it being, I don't remember how many different divisions raced down there through the Snowball week, but it wasn't just late models. So to get everything coordinated, get everything running on time and in a smooth direction, that says a lot for that racetrack and their staff there. And then the inspection procedure is a whole other deal, also speaks highly of that track. So they've really got it going on. Was that one of the things that influenced you to make that your home track, Ryan? Is that something that you liked about it and make you want to race there?
No, I don't necessarily think so, but that is a plus. It's a great facility. They do a great job, organizing the races. But really, like, a lot of the tracks here in Texas pretty much shut down. There's not a big car count, and really that's the closest place, believe it or not, that we can go and get that type of competition, on a monthly basis and go run for points and something like that. And it's also a very, notorious track to get publicity even on a monthly basis, not even just for the Snowflake and Snowball deal. It's just really our best place to go, when we think about it.
Yeah, I understand that. How long a tow is it from Texas to Pensacola?
It's about 9 hours with the trailer. Usually, if we're hauling without the trailer, which we do leave the trailer there a lot of the times with my crew chief.
Oh.
He moved down there. He's getting married. No, he actually already got married. So he's staying down there. He takes care of the car and gets it ready. So that saves us a little time not having to haul it back and forth, extra gas. So we usually make it probably 7.5 hours. But it is a long drive, and, I'm used to it by now. We've made the trip plenty of times.
Is that what you're planning on doing next year? Is running mainly at Five Flags or running for the points, or are you going to travel some?
We don't really know yet. Our plans for next year are kind of up in the air, depending on sponsorship help. We really want to move up to supers next year is the main plan. Just not sure if the funding will be there or not. If it's not, I guess we're just going to stick with what we're doing and try to get sponsorship, for next year. It's just, it's really tough without the necessary funding.
Yeah, it definitely is. What about you, Clay? What are your plans for next year?
Not really sure, man. I think we're going to do the Cars Tour.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we're going to do that and then run our car every now and then when we're not running with him.
Who are you going to be driving for on the Cars Tour?
Curtis Venable. That's the guy we ran with this year. He's actually right down the road from us here in Goldsboro. And we're going to run with him with the car stuff and probably run some of the other races. Hopefully get out to Nashville or maybe Winchester and stuff a little bit this year. But just that and running our car mostly.
You going to run Wake County?
I'm sure we'll get up there a little bit. Last year we only got to get up there, I think, 3 times, and but we won all 3 of them. So that's a fun little track, man. It's real tight, real small. It makes for great racing.
Yeah, for those that don't know, if you look up in the dictionary under bull ring, there's a picture of Wake County Speedway. That is a tight, tough little quarter-mile track, but they put on a great show. No doubt about it. Yeah. Derek, what are your plans? What do you got going on for next year? What are you looking to happen next year?
Well, like I said, we already got the supermotor ordered in, so we just plan on, moving up the supers, climbing up the ranks, and hopefully run the Cars Tour, maybe hit up a couple pass races, the bigger ones. And, of course, the big pro late model. And, at the end of the year, go for the Snowball Derby again and, look for better results and see how we can do there.
There you go. Think positive. Always looking for bigger and better things. And Kaz, while we got about 20 minutes, what's your itinerary for next year? Because I know you're going to be really busy.
Oh, I'm sure I'll be busy, but we don't have 100% plan yet. We're waiting for the K&N schedule to be released. And once that happens, we'll probably have a better idea. But we're not sure yet what our focus is going to be on. A lot of it is sponsorship dependent. Depending on what we're able to get together, we might focus on the truck series. We might focus on the K&N series if that schedule comes out and it looks really interesting to run full-time again. I'm sure I'll be in some super late model races again next year. Snowball Derby, that's definitely a plan. But honestly, as far as definite plans, nothing for sure yet. But I'm sure within the next month or so we'll have something together and we'll have it released by then.
Well, that's cool. You've got a lot of irons in the fire. You just got to see which ones are going to play out for you. It's interesting to note that everybody mentioned coming back to the Snowball Derby. I guess that's pretty much if you're a late model driver, you got to be there for that. So that's cool hearing that y'all are going to come back to there. Are there the only other big late model races I can think of is there's one in Nashville and there's one in Berlin, Michigan, I think. What other big shows are there down in the southeast for late models? What's one that'll be marked on your calendar?
I think that Rattler race is a pretty big one. I think the Oxford 250, that's not down south, but that's more up towards my neck of the woods. But potentially thinking about that, there's plenty of big super late model races to go around. I'd say there's probably about 8 of them throughout the year, something like that. The Snowball arguably being the biggest of them, but there's others that are up there with it.
Yeah, you also got Speed Weeks coming up, too, in a few weeks down in Georgia.
Yep. And I was trying to think, is it New Smyrna that has some big races around the Daytona Speed Weeks time?
They do. That's where Speed Weeks is basically at. They also have a race January 2nd, I believe. It's a 100-lapper down there, 3,000 to win. I really
the red eye.
We're going to be recovering from the Snowflake.
Well, get them in when you can. I like those races they run down in New Smyrna. They don't run but about 35 laps, so it's pretty much all or nothing from the green flag to the checkered flag. What are y'all's preferences? What are your preferences? Ryan, would you rather run a short, fast sprint, 25, 35 laps, or do you want to run a longer distance race, 100-lap race or so, where you've got time to adjust yourself to the way your car's handling, or maybe even make a pit stop and adjust your car and still be good at the end. Which way do you prefer, Ryan?
I definitely prefer the longer races. I've heard Speed Weeks is pretty bad for tearing up cars, just because they're 35 lap basically dashes and everybody's really aggressive. And that's not something we're really looking towards. We won't have a backup car or anything like that. So I don't think we'll be going down there just for mainly that fact. So I definitely prefer the longer races. It makes for better racing, in my opinion, as far as, clean, not maybe exciting, but I'm not looking for exciting races right now.
I understand that. Less excitement, less wear and tear on the pocketbook. Derek, what about you? What's your preference?
Well, I'm honestly better at those short, dashy races just by the way I drive. I'm just an aggressive driver, and I wear my stuff out pretty quick. But I do agree with Ryan, in those dash races, they are, aggressive, and it's quite a bit of excitement and tore up stuff that happens. But I actually did Speed Weeks last year, never tore up my car, so that was pretty successful. But I'm beginning to like the long. I like the challenge of learning how to save your stuff, but, I also like the fact that I can drive all out in those 30-lap races, but I'm starting to prefer the longer races now just with the bigger challenge it brings.
I understand that. Clay Jones, what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
No, I like the long distance, man. I like it when you wear the tires out and it puts more in the driver's hand. A lot of people can find speed for a couple of laps, but to keep it up under you for a long distance, that's more of what I prefer. But it's fun. All of it's fun. It's fun to go, have those couple of fast laps. I don't know. I think it's funner, to be sliding around the corner, everybody be sliding, on that last leg and have a dash to the end.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and that is the sign of a driver that got as fast at the end of the race on wore-out tires. Kaz Grala, you got about the biggest stretch. You run the short races, and then in the upper tier series, you've run longer races. Which way do you like to go?
Oh, hands down, the longer races, for sure. Even the Snowball Derby, the 300 laps that we did, that was the longest race, laps-wise, that I've ever been in. And still, by the end of it, I was hoping for a little bit more. But I think when you look up towards, like, the Sprint Cup Series or the Xfinity Series, all those guys can drive a car fast. All those guys can get every 100th out of the car. The guys that really do well and who win championships are the guys who can get their car better for that last stint of the race than the other drivers can. So I think having a longer race down in like the late model ranks or the K9 ranks, a longer race with some stops, whether they're live pit stops or breaks, but getting a chance to practice adjusting on the car and to give feedback during the race to try to make it better for the next part of the race. I think that's really valuable to learn. I think later in everyone's career it's going to prove to be really useful.
Yeah, I agree with you. Developing that ability to recognize what your car is doing and to be able to translate to your crew chief what your car is doing and, maybe even suggest how to fix it is definitely a valuable asset to any driver. If you can do that, if you can make it clear to your crew chief exactly what your car is doing and what you want it to do, that's definitely going to put you up at the top. And Kaz, you're in a good position for that because you work for the guy that I think's the best in NASCAR doing that, Kyle Busch. If you ever listen to Kyle on the radio, talking with his team and everything, he can break that corner down into 10 different segments and tell you exactly what his car is doing in each of those little segments. and it really makes a difference. Really, it kind of makes crew chief's job easier because he knows what's going on and he knows what you want. I take it all four of you drivers have good relationships with your crew chiefs. Well, let's talk about them a little bit. Tell us about your crew chief, Clay.
My crew chief's my dad.
There you go.
Family. It's kind of a family deal, man. Everybody that goes with us has been with us from the start. It's since I started and even before when Dad raced. So that's like one big family, man. We go everywhere together, and I don't know. We've all been with each other so long. We trust in each other and actually listen to what each other's got to say about everything, and it makes it all better, man. When you're with somebody for so long, you only get better.
Yeah, it's definitely true, and it's good to have the closeness of your family there working with you. These are people you can trust, unconditionally, and they're all on your side, and you're their number one interest. So that's always a plus, having your family there with you. Ryan, what about you? Do you have a lot of family input in your racing deal? And tell us a little bit about your crew chief.
We have a lot of family input. Basically, our whole crew is volunteers that fly down and basically pay for themselves, which really helps a lot, not having to hire a whole, pit crew type deal to help us every week.
Yeah.
But to hire our pit crew, our crew chief is JC Umscheid with Umscheid Race Services. He does a great job. He's from Texas. He worked for us, basically crew chiefed our late model when we were racing here locally, and came down to Florida with us, and now he's basically living down there, which is really cool, and he's able to help us out even more. We can just, like I said, we keep our car down there, and he has, the whole time to prepare for, our next time out.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to be, to have him right there on the spot, hands-on with you. It's definitely going to be an asset. What about you, Kaz? You're pretty much a team player. I don't believe you have much family involvement, do you?
Well, the family involvement, certainly there's plenty of support. My parents never, ever missed a single race. They're at every single one, but the teams themselves are independent, I guess you could say. The crew chief I've worked with the most this year would be Mike Fritz. He's done me in all of the K&N races, and he also did the Snowball Derby for me. And I did a race at New Smyrna a little earlier this year with him in a late model as well. This is my first year working with him, but we gelled really quickly. I mean, all the way back in New Smyrna for the first K&N race of the year, which was my first race ever with Mike, we were already communicating really well, and certainly by now we've only gotten better with each other. So I look forward to working with him next year again. I think that'll be really good for me. It hasn't happened too many times for me where I've been able to go 2 years in a row working with the same team. Usually we move around a little bit, just try different teams, try different series, try to learn as much as I can. But at this point, I think we're looking to hopefully settle down a little bit here and really get to know the team for another year. I think that'll help us even more. And I think Mike Fritz is a great guy to just kind of stay with and learn a lot from, because he knows a lot about driving, a lot about setup. He used to be quite the super late model driver himself around Florida. So it's really cool getting to work with him.
Well, that sounds good. Are you going to be able to take him with you? Say you go to trucks next year, or the K&N series or even Xfinity series, will you be able to bring him with you, or like does KBM already have crew chiefs and car chiefs and everything in place, and you just show up as the driver and driver only, and everything else is already there? How does that work?
Well, it definitely depends on the team and it depends on the situation. Most teams already have people employed, but some teams, if they would be adding a second or third or fourth truck or whatever it may be, might not have teams employed. But certainly taking Mike Fritz with us for a couple races has been an idea that's been kicked around a little bit. And it'd be something I would really, really love to do if it all worked out and if that was possible. I definitely think there's something to working with the same guy as much as possible, whether it's the crew chief, the spotter, the car chief, just the team in general. I think getting that trust, getting that relationship, making sure that when you say something on the radio, they know exactly what you mean, exactly what you need, and they know what adjustments to make. I think all of that is really important. So especially if I were to move up to a new series like the Truck Series, something I've never done, it certainly would not hurt to be able to have a team behind me that I'm already used to, since it will be a whole different series, whole different car, a whole different type of tire. Having a foundation, people that I know and work with a lot, would be really valuable.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there, and you're right. With so much new, you kind of want something constant, something you can bring with you. Let's take a minute while we got some time and go around the table and let y'all give a shout out to anybody you want to recognize, anybody you want to thank, or just, recognize for being in your corner, being a supporter, or even being your family. Let's start with you, Derek.
I'd just like to thank, my family, the ones that bring this race team together and, bring the finances together. And of course, all our friends and fans that, bring out the recognition for my race team and everything. And definitely my sponsors, the guys that bring in the money to put on the car, Double S Service, Crossroad Concrete, Chicken Express, Franklin, Texas, and, Derek Scott's Auto Parts, which is my dad's, family-owned business, car dealership here in College Station, Texas. And, just everyone that brings together and makes this deal possible.
Good deal. Your dad's a great guy, too. Tell everybody your social media contacts, how they can keep up with what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, what was that you just said there?
Tell everybody your social media contacts, how they can keep up with what you're doing and what's in the future for you.
Oh, okay, right. So, I have a Facebook account, a fan page, and, Instagram and Twitter. You can just look up my name, Derek Scott Jr., and you can find out everything I'm doing there for, next year and my whole racing career and just, my race career.
All right, good deal. I'm going to send you a friend request so I can get you in my Facebook group, NASCAR and Other Racing, and I won't have to look for you then. I can get your post and see how you're doing. Of course, I believe he's your uncle, Eddie, keeps me informed quite a bit. He seems to be one of your biggest backers.
No, I
got you confused with Ryan. Sorry about that.
Yes.
I'm getting old. That shit happens. Hey, Ryan, give us a shout out, including Eddie. Anybody else you want to recognize?
Well, you recognize him for me. I got to thank Eddie for all he does, promoting, and he gets me a lot of interviews, which I can't thank him enough for that. Got to thank all our volunteers that come and help us every week. My dad, most importantly, who funds everything out of his own pocket. Got to thank our sponsors, First Choice House Leveling. He's been hopping on lately, which has made a big difference for us. So I can't thank him enough. We're Spark Plugs, Octane Energy Drink, and my crew chief, as we mentioned, JC Hampshire. He does a lot, helping us out, and just, you know, everybody that helps. I mean, it's a whole team effort. Without one of the 20 people involved, this wouldn't be possible. So I just got to thank everybody.
All right, give us your social media outlets. Let us know how we can keep up with you.
I have a Facebook page, www.facebook.com/FlyingRyanLuzaRacing. Also have a website, www.FlyingRyanLuzaRacing.com. A Twitter account, which I'm trying to learn still. I really don't like Twitter so far. And I believe that's about it.
Everybody raves about Twitter, and I just don't get it. It's too much work for me. Clay Jones, my man, who you want to recognize?
Mostly, man, like I said earlier, my dad and all the guys that go with us every week, Randall and Tony and Mike Harrell doing all our racing engines, and with the super deal, I can't thank Curtis Venable enough. He owns all that stuff and letting us live the dream, man. Go run all these big races and have a great time. And I say it's most of those guys, man. We got about 5 or 6 head that go with us everywhere. Not a big group, but it's a great group.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's always good to have a great group of people with you. Makes it a lot more fun. Social media, how can we keep up with you?
I got a Facebook page, just Clay Jones, man. I don't have no fan page or nothing like that, no website. So just hit me up on there if you ever need anything.
All right, I'll do that. And make sure you post on the group page when you're going back to Wake County. I want to come down there and see you run.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. You have to come down here and see us sometime.
I'll do that. And Kaz, you're definitely a social media type. How can we follow you?
Probably the easiest way would just be to go to my website, KazGrala.com, and there's links to the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, all right from there. But if you're going to go through the sites themselves, it'll be at Kaz Grala on Twitter and on Instagram, and it'll be Facebook.com/KazGralaRacing.
Yeah, I knew you had the hang of social media, and you've used it well so far in your racing. Anybody you want to recognize or give a shout-out to or anything?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, I have to thank my parents for being so incredibly supportive of me.
Attaboy.
Kyle Busch Motorsports, Ben Kennedy Racing for the stellar year that I've been able to have with both of those teams. Specifically for this last weekend, I have to thank Chet Morrison Racing, Pine, Mike Fritz, all the guys that thrashed so hard getting that brand new car ready to go for the Snowball Derby. It was a lot of late nights and early mornings for them, but it all paid off. It ended up being a good race, and I was just really, really proud to be able to do that for them. But all in all, it's been a great year, and everybody who's been involved, I can't thank enough. I'm looking forward to next year and the future and getting to work with everybody a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I heard that, and good luck to you next year, and good luck to all of you next year. And congratulations to each and every one of you on your runs down in Pensacola at the Snowball and Snowflake races. I think every one of you, nobody finished where they wanted to finish, and they all felt like they could do better than what they did. So that'll motivate you and definitely drive you to do better next year and to be more prominent, play more of a prominent role in the Derby shows next year. I want to thank y'all for coming on. I really appreciate y'all sitting in with me. It has really been an interesting show to me. I've learned quite a bit about what goes on down there. How about you, CJ? Did you pick up anything?
Oh, most definitely. It just blows my mind to see what it's like to go down there through their eyes and their experience and, everything, the whole process, and it's been cool.
I tell you, it's amazing, and to have these four guys on here and to be at that young age and to be experiencing the things that the racing that y'all are experiencing and everything, what can I say? I'm jealous. I wish I could have done that when I was your age, and I'm glad for you. And like I said, I wish each and every one of you good luck for next year. So thank you, Flying Ryan Luza. Thank you, Derek Scott Jr. Thank you, Kaz Grala, and thank you, Clay Jones, for coming on tonight. Like I said, it's really been an interesting show for me. I appreciate the insight, and we'll be in touch. I'll be watching y'all next year, and I'll get you back on the show.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's been great.
I'm just glad y'all can make it here and share your experience with us. And maybe next year, if I can squeeze something out of the budget, I can get down there and talk to y'all at the track. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for coming on. And like I said, we'll be in touch. We'll be keeping an eye on you. And I think it's a good time for CJ and I to slip out of here as well.
That it is.
But it's been a real good show. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. And I learned a bit, too. It's always good to learn something new. As far as next week's show, will be the last show of 2015. The Thursday after that will be Christmas Eve, and the Thursday after that will be New Year's Eve. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm going out and party. But next Thursday night, we're getting something lined up. The only thing I can tell you that's lined up for sure is it's going to be a Snafu Seasoning night. I've got some Snafu Seasoning I need to pass on to you people to try. So we're going to figure out a way to give away some Snafu Seasoning next Thursday night. Get that cleared out, and I can get on Jimmy Haywood and get new stock for 2016. CJ, give us a countdown of where everybody can keep up with you and what shows you've got going on.
They can follow me on Twitter at CJSports1. We can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. We got the 110 Nation Sports Show at 9 o'clock weeknights. We got the 110 Nation Morning Show, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, week morning. And, of course, I'm here with you every Thursday night for Racing with Big Sweat. Yep.
Definitely glad you're here, and I appreciate the opportunity and everything, and it's been a real cool year. I'm really looking forward to 2016.
Definitely.
People, if you want to check me out on Twitter, I'm at Big Sweat. They call me the NASCAR Heartbreaker and Home Wrecker. Facebook's the easiest way to find me. I have a racing group, NASCAR and Other Racing, and as you can tell by the guests we've had tonight and in previous shows, we're big on the other racing. We're not just NASCAR. We talk and discuss Formula One, Indy cars, sprint cars, enduro racing, street stocks, dirt late models, asphalt late models. We cover it all. We talk about it all. We have a good time, believe me. So you get a chance, come check the place out, join the group, and see what everybody's talking about. Once again, thanks all you guys, the 4 gentlemen we had on tonight, Flying Ryan Luza, Derek Scott Jr., Clay Jones, and Kaz Grala. Really appreciate you guys being on. Always a pleasure to talk with you. CJ, thanks again for hanging with me, bud, and I'll be in touch. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for tonight. Tune in next week. It's going to be a great show. See ya.
Okay, let's do this. Jog 3 miles before breakfast. Make it to work by 9. Run out for a salad at lunch. Oh, time to own that meeting at 3. Yes, 10,000 steps. What's next?
Fearless is not hitting snooze. That's the power of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program. With more healthy benefits and tools, no one does more to help you live fearless. Sign up at fepblue.org/action by December 14th.